All right, imagine your child as a teen in their senior year. They're getting things together, they've got their SATs behind them, they've got college applications or packets coming in and applications going out. Things are really cooking. Soon is prom and graduation, you're excited, you're proud of your child, and then your daughter comes home and says, I'm pregnant. Or your son comes home and says, my girlfriend's having a baby. What do? With the shock of all that, in the midst of all that, when things settle down a little bit, you start to really think about it and think, well, if my presentation worked, things would go better. You start to think, well, I signed a paper for this kid to go to sex education. What did they teach him? Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit about that, and so I wanted to bring to your attention, first of all, that in 2010, the Florida teen pregnancy rate was 56 per 1,000 females aged 15 to 19. Now, the national average was 57 per 1,000. New Hampshire has a low of 28 per 1,000, and New Mexico at a high with 80 per 1,000, and this is per the Guttmacher Institute. I want to enlighten you about the problem, what the problem is, and why we can't get it straight, and tell you what it is that we need to do to get things moving here. Everyone here is a parent, a grandparent, or a parent-to-be. Most of us work in healthcare. Some of us live in Osceola County. We're all taxpayers, and we live in the state of Florida. We all have an interest in what's taught in our schools, the well-being of our youth, and how our tax dollars are spent both at a federal and a state level. Schools in Florida primarily teach abstinence only. The statistics about teen sex and pregnancy are not what you think, and teenage pregnancy comes with a lot of cost to the government, to the taxpayers, as well as risk to the parent and the child that they have. So let's take a look at sex education in Florida. First of all, abstinence-only programs are what's primarily being taught, particularly in Osceola County. And this is with the intent that if we tell them don't have sex, they won't have sex. Well, research has proven that states that have strict abstinence-only programs actually have seen an increase in their teen pregnancy rates. And states who have a combination of abstinence-only and comprehensive sex education have lower rates. This is according to Boonstra, who was writing for the Guttmacher Institute. There has been a decline in teen pregnancy rates overall since 1988, but the decline does not really seem to be related to teens delaying sexual activity. In fact, the Office of Adolescent Health from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states 48% of Florida teens admit to having had sexual intercourse. The federal government has eliminated their abstinence-only programs for their ineffectiveness and in decreasing unplanned pregnancies, and they have spent almost $438 million to launch 3 new programs since 2015 to implement medically accurate, age-appropriate sex education and the research of teen behaviors to help them plan for this. And this is according to the Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States. Yet, the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy reports the Florida Department of Health has set aside $3.7 million for abstinence-only programs still in the state of Florida. And those federal funds are not being allocated into the Florida schools to teach comprehensive sex education. So now that you have that information, let's see just how many teens could be in trouble. So what's going to show here are figures based on the data collected by the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, in 2015 for the state of Florida. And you can see that 40% overall are admitting to having had sex. And the incline from the 9th grade to the 10th grade, 11th, and then 12th grade, these kids are having sex. Boys are more likely than girls, and the older they are, the more likely they are to have had sexual intercourse. These numbers are pretty consistent around the national average. So the question is, how effective is abstinence-only teaching if this is how many kids are having sex out there? This is like, by the time they're a senior in high school, over half of these kids. Now the group macro policy review in 2014 notes that researchers have determined the primary reason for the decline in teen pregnancy is actually improvement of teens to use contraceptives. So in conjunction with that concern, let's look at some facts about teen pregnancy. This shows you the different states is related to the income and the birth rate. And keep in mind, birth rate is not teen pregnancy rate, and we do have liberal abortion laws in Florida. And then abstinence only. So in Florida, we have a lower median income. We are teaching primarily abstinence only education, and we're in one of the higher classes, more frequent birth rates than the other states. In 2010, the federal government spent $9.4 billion in costs related to teen pregnancy, and this includes teen childbearing, as related to negative consequences for the children of teen mothers, including the cost for health care, foster care, incarceration, and lost tax revenue. Of that amount, Florida's contribution was $443 million. The CDC reports that teen pregnancy and birth significantly contribute to high school dropout rates, with only 50% of teen moms getting their high school diploma by the time they're 22. A figure that's 90% for women who do not have a child in their adolescent years. In addition to that, children of teenage mothers are more likely to have lower school achievement, drop out of high school, have more health problems, be incarcerated at some point during their adolescence, and also be a teen parent. They will also face unemployment or be more likely to face unemployment as a young adult. And these effects are true for the teen mother and her child, even after they've been adjusted for factors that increase the teenager's initial risk for pregnancy, such as growing up in poverty or having parents with low levels of education, growing up in a single parent household, and having poor performance in school. So clearly, we owe it to our teens to teach them medically accurate sex education, including information about STDs and contraceptive. Ignoring the issue is not going to make it go away. So this is what I want you to consider. In December of last year, House Bill 859 and State Bill 1056 for the state of Florida, these bills went to legislation or were filed, and they state that it is required each public school that offers programs regarding human sexuality, including family planning, pregnancy, or sexually transmitted infection prevention, including the prevention of HIV and AIDS, to provide comprehensive, medically accurate, and factual information that is developmentally and age appropriate. They also provide that a student may be excused from a portion of the program or class upon written request by the parent. These bills failed. They died in March of this year. I'm asking you to write to your congressman. Request that they address the needs of our teens. Who here will do that? Who here will contact the school board and demand that they address the appropriate information, the lack of appropriate information for our teens that's being taught in our school, and use federal funding to help implement the programs that will help these teens take better care of themselves? Thank you. I have that information available for you in the other room.